if the structures were there, the materials were there, the positions were there, and everything else that mankind wanted could have been created anywhere in the universe. But in that process, we only became part of, we only created one thing. And if we look at the original Panja, we all created in one way or another from the same structure, in the same area. And as we broke up, as we developed into breaking up, we spread, we divided, and we created exactly the same. So it had an origin, it had a position, it had a diversity of life, and it had, in so many ways, understanding of totality. If we look, you see, the creation was so simple. So we see life was one, because we look at the present map, but if you look at the map even before this was all one piece. So the life did not start. Life started on a band where the temperature and the composition of materials would allow it to live. Then we go back further. Even if you go back further before man, before the first life, the conditions had to be created that man could live. Materials had to be created. Materials had to be there. Materials for life to create the first cell had to be conditioned to be available. What are these materials and how we became to be as beings on this planet? In the solar system, we started as a speck of dust and rays. Took billions of years to these specks to come together somewhere and build the first seed. And as every drop of rain falls back to its life, to its origin, to the center of gravitational field forces of it, as we understand in the world of the science of the plasma now, everything which comes in has to go out. So the sun forever spews out to be able to recycle itself. If you look at it, the sun is a recycling process for itself in the domain of its own in its solar system. And as spews energies as magnetic fields, as they lose their energy, they become into different stages of matter. And when they get to the boundary and become matter, in the dynamic position, they collide, they come together. It's like a crushing system. It pushes. It's like you put yourself or something in a forge and you turn it. All has to merge, all has to become alloys. And as become alloys, it becomes bigger and bigger. And in that position becomes the first seed for structure. It's a solid state, but gradually, as it absorbs more and more energy from the sun, it gets covered with the material which itself builds itself and become huge. But at all time, the journey does not stop because the gravitational pull of the mother pulls in. From this point as a dust to this point as a first, what we call planet, which always is giant as it collects small gases, takes billions of years. and then the journey stops as a fast motion, and the slow journey to reach the mother starts by rotation and rotation and rotation and rotation. And somewhere here in the middle of the journey, this planet decided, due to its composition of the material which was created in the outset, and due to the magnetic field forces of the planet and its star, to create and turn. And that turning, to position itself magnetically and gravitationally respectful to the others in the solar system outside, tilted Earth. In that tilting, by a few degrees, created the present diversity. And in that diversity, new materials were absorbed, because now it wasn't mono-energetic facing the sun, it was continuously diversing and creating more. What we know from this diversity and interaction of the fields of the sun and the earth in an angle, new materials in each level of degree and interactions in different seasons would have started to be attracted. One of the first ones was sodium. Then others, as it became closer and the diversity became changing, we know other materials start appearing. In a way, now, because of what happened with the fields and interaction inside, heat started, gravitation took hold, and in taking that gravitation, by reduction in the strength of the gravitation, materials appeared. But don't forget, for materials to appear, the energy of the sun had a say. So slowly, what we saw, it was the creation of the lighter elements in the different angles, which at the same time, because of the diversity and the angle of the planet, heavy materials were produced on one side, while the lightest were absorbed on the other side. More materials were created as less and less gravitational fields of different strengths were accepted. So this became a combination planet. This started creating diversity. Hydrogen from one end, while plutonium and magnesium and the others and gold and copper appeared on the other strength. The beauty of this planet is what we call inclination of the angle in respect to the sun. It creates diversity of the fields, not mono-energetic as most of the planets do. And so in that process, in that energy of diversity, sodium, with in so many ways connecting itself with hydrogen and oxygen, and then by the creation of the carbon and everything else, created the first cells. So we have not been delivered from outside. We are the children of this planet in the physical dimension. But in that process, many, many, many things will change. Because as different amount of materials were getting created by interaction of the fields of the planet, we saw diversity. And that diversity, through balance of energies, led to the creation of amino acid. In the line of what I showed you on the Panja, this diversity met its match. So many ways, the amino acid became the first diverse energy made by the planet. Does not exist anywhere, but as it had the common denominator of everything, it could link up. It linked up with copper. It linked up with iron. It linked up itself with everything else that it could make as energy, gas, matter, or whatever. It needed a stability that it could progress. It needed a stability that it could make a system that while this planet was falling back in to his mother, somewhere in this point, the process was completed. And what we saw was the first life. Life meaning that the cell, the amino acid, could sustain, and due to the energies within the environment, replicate itself. Which means now Mr. Cohen could make more of itself. But it realized it cannot become like the sun to receive and give. It needs to create a structure that continuously can receive and give, but in that process, hold to some. And then it became very easy. It needed a mechanism. It needed to create